What if you launched a game and nobody showed up? What if you worked really hard with a consultancy group to make sure it would appeal to the broadest possible audience, or at least a very narrow one? What if you literally were the cause of the collapse of a studio? Well, we have answers for all these questions on That Game Plays. Hi folks, it's CC here with That Game Plays, and of course I'm here with my pal Nolan Thunder.
Hello, how's it going, friend?
And it's going great. Are you excited about a new game?
Yes, I love new games. What new game are we talking about?
Well, we're going to talk about Flintlock. That's right,
The what?
Flintlock. Flintlock, yeah, it's supposedly this truly amazing game, and Sweet Baby Inc. helped develop it. That's right. The Siege of Dawn released to some pretty, horrendous numbers. Abysmal is what the title here says, but I think we should really dive deeply into this one. Have you heard about this game, Nolan?
This is like the first I've heard of it, so it's definitely not been a success. I don't mean that in a mean way, but like that's not a good sign. But the most iconic name I see here is Sweet Baby, and I know them, but for a lot of the wrong reasons.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people know them for the wrong reasons. I also know that this is from game developer A44 Games with the help of Sweet Baby Inc., of course, and publisher Kepler Interactive, a game studio that focuses on distribution primarily. They got some really rough numbers on this one, and according to the Steam database, the game's current peak concurrent players at the first 24 hours of release only hit 648. It puts the game at rank 85 during the course of that 24-hour period, which I think is about 5 or 6 days ago. But as you can tell, there really isn't a lot of people, or haven't been a lot of people, playing this game. Now, it was no surprise that nobody was, buying the game, given that Sweet Baby Inc. worked on the game. The game was added to the Sweet Baby Inc. detected curator list on Steam, which obviously our friend Cabrutus started, and that has a lot of people focused on where games come from. Well, at least 415,000 during the course of this article. Now, the curator kind of acts as a boycott list, or at least a list of games that people should avoid. Have you heard of this list, Nolan?
Oh, very much so, and it's kind of nice to have, some transparency with that. It's like going into, if you go buy, say, a Mario game, you see the Nintendo logo. More often than not, even though Nintendo's had a lot of games aimed at older players and stuff, usually Nintendo, you'll know, like, okay, this is going to be quality. Most of the time, it's probably going to be a family experience, but everybody can get into it. So a little bit of transparency goes a long way, but I will say, even though it's okay to branch out of that sort of, bubble, it's not a good sign, though, when your brand is literally the token thing of, if you see this label on the game, your game is literally probably going to go down history as one of the biggest bombs of all time. And that's never a good reputation you want for your company. They need to be doing a lot of damage control over there, because this year has just been a huge dagger to any of their hopes for getting into the zeitgeist and being a beloved savior of the industry for all sorts of new players to experience their games.
Oh, I agree with you 100%, but I don't think there's any prayer for Sweet Baby to recover. I mean, the CEO, Campbell, has really screwed up things, and the COO, or former CEO over at A44, actually confirmed that, this Sweet Baby was involved extensively. And for Flintlock, it was Tops Harjo who brought on Kim Belair, the Montreal-based narrative director who has advocated for better representation in stories as a means of bringing new and exciting ideas to games. Well, this game looks phenomenal, I will say that much. But again, because they inserted messaging, I think it pushed a lot of players away, reportedly. Now, she took the wonderful base layer that Derek had, one of the developers there, and just elevated it. The difference when there's a person who's reflecting at you and it's true, there's a certain truth that resonates that can't be faked. I know some people won't notice, but people who are attuned to that, they'll get it immediately, which means that for those of us who are attuned to it because it's bad, we would definitely see it. And for people who are attuned to it that are good, which is a tiny little fractional percentage of the fan base for anything, they would definitely get it. But everybody in between is going to be confused as to why the game sucks. But during the course of the interview, it also details the game's narrative is full of woke ideological propaganda. So, again, we're going to just read from the interview from Harjo. Those gods are almost a symbol of colonialism. They are people who have taken over your agency. What do you do when you wrestle with that structure to find and gain your own identity? It's still a game. It's still gods and guns. But when you look at it from that lens, there's another layer on top of that from Nor being a woman of color. It makes the character and the dynamic even more an echo of reality. Now, mind you, every single word that I emphasize, Nolan, are words that they want to emphasize in their ideological push. They want to focus on reality during, well, a thing that you're trying to enjoy escapism with. They want to focus on that lens of, identitarianism. They want to focus on tearing down civilization, which is the word they use. They don't use. They use the word colonialism, and so many other things. So, do you think you hear the symbolism there?
Well, it's interesting because I think you've said that way better than me. Because, all video games have a sense of how much of it is fantasy and how much of it is reality. And most good games, usually the fantasy level, the higher it is, the better the game is. People love, say, GTA, which has a lot of grounded realism, but they love it because they can do things that they'd never be able to do in real life. But that's pretty much just the principle of a video game. But what stands out more to me here, you were talking about that interview. I know at some point later in the article, one thing that really stuck to me was where they're saying that allegedly that the character of the game was originally going to be a white person, and they decided to change it. But that is just so artificial, because I am all for, hey, you can still have some resemblance of the real world and then go out make this great new character. I remember in one of the recent Pokemon games, there was an African American gym leader, and everyone fell in love with her. She was probably one of the most popular characters to come out of the more controversial recent Pokemon games. And I'm seeing this character in this game for the first time, and I see the cool stuff like that skull helmet and stuff. But unfortunately, instead of just being able to enjoy the really cool design, and honestly, one of the better, more ideological, I can't say that word, but the more sweet baby type designs, it actually has some charm to it. But the problem is, I don't see this and see cool video game character. I see this and see, okay, this is checking a box. And that's never something I want to see when I'm playing a video game. I just want to have fun.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is trying to get back to escapism. But our friend Grums has said, well, some interesting things about this, including the game being completely overrun by woke, which I think we already know. But proof that Sweet Baby Inc. ruins games. SBI Flintlock by A24 Games has been overrun by woke. I used to work there. Flintlock was a good project with lots of potential. Then they ruined it. I bet they did. And he continued, before I go further, please note this is rumor from a source that seems very knowledgeable about the studio inner workings. Take that as it is. If others would like to verify, please DM me anonymously. The CEO and COO at A44 are no longer with the company. That's true. They did leave. The good devs at A44, I tell you how to fix it at the end of this thread. Do you know the propagandists of Flintlock used to be... Did you know the protagonist of Flintlock used to be white? Then COO Andrea Tops Harjo joined the studio. Her first actions were to change the character, to hire Sweet Baby Inc., and to change the main character to a POC. This marked the beginnings of the problems with the game and studio.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it was so artificial. It wasn't a labor of love. It was for the sake of, hey, let's push an agenda, as opposed to let's make everybody feel happy and included.
Yeah. I guess there were some rumors here, according to Grums, that Audria Tops Harjo is rumored to have used the company's funds and manpower to power her personal agenda and projects on initiatives not related to the game or even the studio itself. One such initiative that I found was Inclusion FX, the VFX company and advocacy company with shades of Sweet Baby Inc. Here is the bio from the company. She held this position at Flintlock at the same time that she ran Inclusion FX. Oh my goodness. I asked and confirmed, yes, I have witnessed our UI artists making art assets for its website as their sprint task. That's not good. Look at that. There it is. Yeah, well, I guess she did a lot of changes to HR at the company at the same time, basically denying raises and a whole lot of other things. All of this 2 years that she was there, all the DEI changes at A44, basically this former employee asserted that the damage was done and the studio was purchased for 175 million, which is an unusually high sum for a small studio. But Kepler Interactive in September of 2021, a gaming collective fund whose founder also founded the Kowloon Knights Gaming Fund. It was at this point that Audria, the COO, left the company. Perhaps this was the start of a cleanup of the game's troubles. Well, I'm not sure that anybody found that out, but I know this much. The state of the game, according to Grums, was unknown, obviously, until very recently, but is believed to be in shambles after this 2-year round of DEI changes. A44 reached out to Cabrutus to refute SBI's involvement, saying they are no longer involved and all their changes reversed. But when Cabrutus asked for proof, they refused to speak with him any further. He went ahead and gave his advice to Kepler, saying, "You reverted the SBI changes. Good. Announce that you've terminated services with SBI and watch your PR soar. Gamers will flock to you. Don't try to hide it. Keep your main character a POC, but don't tokenize the character." See, that's what you were saying earlier. Make it a great character with quality writing, one we can all love. Remove any sermons or preachiness or anti-white, anti-male racism and sexism from the game if it still remains. Don't lecture your audience. Embrace the gamer and they will embrace you. Good luck and my genuine best wishes. Well, I don't know that happened, but a lot of people said no thank you. Now, Lizzie Kaine. This is a person that I have been focused on for a while, and I've shown Nolan some things you're about to see. Lizzie Kaine worked at a couple of very woke studios and is starting her own thing, which we'll talk about in a minute. But she basically raged on social media, absolutely fuming, vibrating off the freaking plane of reality. This urinating weak pseudo journalism that
I love your TV edits.
yeah, that the far right GG are taking is so vile. You mean telling the truth is a problem. Anyway, incredible to see in real time and closer to home how wrong Grums is and how damaging he and his weird troop are. And this is the tweet that they're referencing there. Now, there is something to this Lizzie Kaine person. Now, mind you, this account that you're looking at, I believe, is gone. She does still have another account, which I won't show you specifically, but I will show you, I will show you what's going on here. We'll jump over to this. This is Lizzie Kaine. She is from Australia, I believe, or is in Australia, as far as I know. And she is part of, well, various levels of game development, game creation, game production, and distribution. This is Lizzie Kaine here, working for, at that time, League of Geeks. She was cooking with gas, the Armello approach to post-launch game. This is from, I believe, the 2019 GDC. If we fast forward just a little bit more, she eventually left League of Geeks because they were failing. They had very poor early access sales to one of their game launches, and they really had to basically cut everything down to 15%. The game that they released, was, I believe, Solium Infernum. And for a little while, it was something for her to be proud of. But eventually, she wasn't there anymore. She moved on. Do you know where she moved on? To
Fair.
Kepler Interactive. And she went to GDC. There's her pass, the Game Developers Conference, in 2022. And there she is. If you're interested, she's showing you her pass. Then, well, she had a last day at Kepler Interactive, which is on April 26th of 2024. So she wasn't there but for a few years and decided to take a little break from everything. It wasn't too long, maybe a month or so, to figure out what's next. And finally, here's what's next. This will be fun for you, Nolan.
Okay.
Yeah, she's back at Girl Geek Academy because apparently Girl Geek Academy is back. They found some money, probably the government, but I don't know. And Sarah Morin's support there is key. That's another gaming person who's actually down here. This is Sarah Morin. But she's taking over as managing director. Now, because that's probably not going to be the big bucks, she's also kicking off her own games consulting business, just like Sweet Baby Inc., in parallel, focused on supporting founders with my experience in production, leadership, operations, etc. And that all sounds great, but we don't know what any of that is. All we know is that the game Flintlock is a disaster zone with very little support from gamers. Nolan, do you have any final thoughts on Flintlock, its game performance, its interest, etc.?
Well, I will say that looking at where she's going with things, there's one thing I can say. I never want to be a dream crusher where she wants to go in life. But I gotta say, if she's gonna go that avenue, you need to study what Sweet Baby Inc. has done. Because I'm sorry to say, it has been a legacy of failure. Because you've pretty much have made an enemy of so many people that love and appreciate games. Like, it's understandable if you make enemies out of people that, if you breathe wrong, they're going to trash you online for just looking the way you do, or, being a little bit different from them, not aligning with every philosophy they have. But you have pretty much tried everything you can to gatekeep. That's a word that's used a lot these days, but literally just fence out everybody that doesn't agree with every single point you guys are trying to push. And if there's anything you can learn, is that games are better. They can be niche, but games are better when you don't attack everybody who might be buying your product. You can aim at a little bit some people who like the A's but not the B's, or the people that like the C's but not the D's. But at the end of the day, if you're just trying to trash almost everybody that's not going to play this game just because, I don't know, they have brown hair, don't have brown hair or something like that, that's just a recipe for disaster. And when 20 years pass from now, is that really what you want to be remembered for? A little food for thought for them.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. One final look at what this game ended up being, besides disappointing. Not a great opening weekend for this, going back about a week now. So I'm sorry, folks at A44. I guess in the immortal words of Falcon Cap, do better. On that note, we're going to ask you, our wonderful audience out there, what do you think about the launch of this Flintlock game? Have you seen this article? Have you commented on it over on That Park Place? You probably should take a look at it and dive deeply into this Lizzie Kaine person, because I feel like she's going to be around for a while and is looking at Campbell for inspiration, whether or not Nolan gave some good advice or not. But let us know if you are interested in anything like Flintlock or any of these other games that focus on all of this propaganda first, or if you prefer escapism. I think I already know what the answer is going to be down in the comment section below. And hopefully we get to see your thumbs up, your share, and of course your subscription, because we appreciate it. We're continuing to grow, and we're going to bring you even more as the channel gets bigger and bigger. Onward to 10K. With that, as always, game on.